All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of American Soccer Quick Kicks. This is a Thursday night coming to you on November 13th. This was completely unplanned. Didn't know I was going to do this. Don't expect to have any kind of live audience with me, but I wanted to jump on here and talk about this. This is absolutely massive. So, Major League Soccer Board of Governors met today and they held a vote, and the result is some massive, massive changes coming for the league. This is something that I know had been debated and had been studied and battered back and forth. I did not expect decisive action to be taken this quickly, so I'm a little bit thrown by this. This is all about the MLS season, the calendar for the MLS season changing. Right now, we usually kick off in the month of February with MLS Cup having the championship final in early December. And that is now going to change starting in 2027. So I'm about to get into it. So this is changing to basically a fall spring schedule, which puts us aligned with most of the rest of the world, specifically all of Europe. And this is something that I teased a little bit on this channel a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, think about this. I want to talk about it soon. I've got my own take of whether I think it's good or bad, and I want us to have a little conversation about it. But before we could get to that, the decision has already been made. They've already had the vote, and this is going to happen, and it's going to happen in 2027. I think I'll just go ahead and tell you right off the top, I think that this is great. I was very skeptical at first, didn't love it. I didn't love the idea of change. I didn't love the idea of not having soccer in the summertime. I didn't know the details and I didn't know the implications. I have since been sold on this, and I want to share with you what the plans are and also what I think are the reasons why this is a very, very positive change. We are looking at what the new schedule, what the new calendar will look like for the 2027. And instead of a season now taking place entirely within one calendar year, we're going to cross over the new year like most leagues do. So this is going to be a fall to spring 2027 to 2028 calendar. Let's take a look at this, okay? We're going to kick off in July. If you follow the graphic with me from left to right, we kick off in July. We have a regular season through mid-December. You can see that break right there in the middle. We're going to have a winter break that lasts about 2 months from mid-December to mid-February. And we're going to come back and finish the regular season in the spring. Presumably, the final regular season match will be sometime in April, and then we're going to have the postseason in May. There's a lot of reasons why I love this. So what were my objections? Like, what were my problems with it, with the idea of doing it? Well, my problem was, how are you going to play in the cold months? What are you going to do about January camp? Stuff like that. As you can see, we are not going to play in the coldest months. Right now, our season starts in February already, which we can see on this new proposed calendar. There will be games second half of February, maybe a little bit earlier than the halfway part of the month. I think they're going to avoid Super Bowl Sunday, but they can come in right after that. That's basically like we're doing that now, okay? And then, like I said, MLS Cup is played in December. So theoretically, every team in the league should be wanting to play that long, although the regular season ends in October. Everyone should be hoping to play into December anyway. So what are you even missing? I mean, in this case, you are taking the coldest months off. I would assume that the outdoor teams in the north that have colder weather, they're probably going to have road games, I would imagine, close to either side of this winter break, just to kind of mitigate that as best they can. The other thing you're doing, there's so many positives here. So right now, like I said, the regular season ends in October for those that don't make the playoffs. For those that fail to qualify for the postseason, the offseason begins in October, and you don't start until February. What is that? A 4-month off season? Nobody has 4 months off. That's an eternity in soccer. Nobody wants that. As a matter of fact, that's something about the league that has turned players away. Some players have chosen not to come to MLS because of that long off season. We're eliminating that. Look at this, the new calendar. There will be an off season for those that don't qualify for the postseason. You'll have May and June. That's it. So you're cutting the offseason down by half. That's massive. Here's the other thing that's going to happen. When you look at this regular season, September, October, November, what's happening there? Well, you could say, well, you're competing against now you're competing against college football and NFL. That's true. Guess what? We're already doing that, and the most important part of our season, the playoffs and the championship final, are also going up against college football in the NFL. As a matter of fact, I believe this happened last year, and I think it's going to happen this year again. MLS Cup final is going to be on that same day as all those conference championship games. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. I want to see the SEC championship game every year. It's on the same day as the MLS Cup. So that's hard. That's a hard choice. I'm probably watching football first and then going back to watch MLS Cup later. That's not if you're MLS, that's not the choice you want people making. With the new calendar, we are going to have our playoffs, our postseason in May. Now, so there's NBA playoffs going on and there's NHL. Somebody help me out. I think there's NHL playoffs during that time. Okay, well, that's all right. I mean, you can't avoid everybody, right? And by avoiding college football, particularly, and also NFL, you're overcoming a major obstacle. That's a big win. The most important part of your season is not having to compete with football. So that's a good thing. In addition to knocking your off season down by half, and you are getting that winter break. So something we haven't had time to talk about yet is that the January camp for U.S. men's national team may possibly be making a permanent change to December. I'm not entirely sure. It has traditionally always been in January. That's not going to happen this time. And this may be a request from Pochettino, but we are going to have a December camp instead of a January camp. Either way, this is going to allow for that camp to still take place. And also, here's the other thing to think about. By aligning with the European calendar, now our transfer windows align with them. And now being able to make moves, sign new players, for players to make moves, it becomes a whole lot easier. A lot of the hassle and a lot of the details that make it all messy, this all goes away because we have our off-season window, the international transfer window in January. That's our off-season, has been, but it's in the middle of all these European seasons. No one wants to lose their players in the middle of the season. And when they have their off-season transfer window, which is in the summer, we're in the middle of ours. And so it just becomes a mess and it becomes a hassle. And now our primary transfer window is going to align with the rest of the world. That's going to make it easier. It's going to make us more attractive to big name players. It's going to make us more attractive to big clubs. And like I said, we're losing the disadvantage of that long off season. So this is all very positive stuff. Now, my only question is going to be what happens to Leagues Cup. I don't know what's going to happen there. I didn't see an announcement on that. Possibly it could be played in the southern regions of the United States and, let's cross our fingers, maybe even Mexico. That hasn't happened yet. But maybe during the winter break, play in the southern latitudes and let that be like an off-season tournament for both leagues, because that is a time when neither MLS nor Liga MX would be playing. And so both teams are coming in, but I should say both leagues are coming in to the tournament as if it were some sort of preseason tournament. And that makes it fair for everybody, because before we've usually had like, oh, this team's either in preseason or this one's in midseason form. And, these teams are at different spots in their like annual rhythm of how the team's coming together. This will line us up with that too. So I'm hoping that we will get that the Leagues Cup will now be treated as like a preseason tournament for both leagues. I think that would be fair. And the other thing is, well, let me see what else we got. Transfer window, not competing with NFL during our postseason, cutting the offseason down by half, having the winter break. And so, I mean, you're barely missing a month where we're not already playing in the current calendar. I don't see where the disadvantage is. I don't know why people would have a problem with this. Some might say, well, American culture, we're used to we associate soccer with being a summer sport. You know, kids are out of school. It's easier for families to get to games when it's out of school. I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it. But you know, the majority of our season is played when school is in session. And when you look at this calendar, there's regular season games in April, there's regular season games in July. You're not missing a whole lot. I just don't see where the disadvantage is. This is going to take place starting in July of 2027. So we are going to get our regular February to October regular season for 2026. That's still going to happen, which means our season is going to be in the middle of things in the World Cup. We'll be taking a pause at least during the group stage of the World Cup, and then probably resuming our regular season schedule while the World Cup is going on. And that reminds me of a couple more advantages to this calendar. This is nothing but good news. We are going to avoid having to play regular season matches during international windows. Okay, that the month of June is a huge month for international soccer every year. All right, that's when you're going to have your Gold Cup and your Copa Americas, and that's when we've been missing so many key players in our league games because of international duty. They're going to be freed up. Because why? Because we're now going to be aligned with the rest of the world, right? Where the FIFA calendar works for the people that are in a fall to spring calendar. So we're now getting in line with that, and all this stuff is going to get a lot easier. We're not going to have to play games during any kind of like June international window. Here's the other thing. We're not going to have our postseason interrupted by an international window. Right now, we're playing our first round, our group stage, basically not group stage, but our best of three initial stage of our postseason in October, stopping everything, and it's happening right now. All right, this is where we are right now. We stop the postseason cold, go have an international window, and the U.S. is about to play a couple of matches, and then we're going to come back and resume our postseason on the other side of the international break. That's brutal to the league that's trying to build momentum during the most important part of its season, during a time when it should be attracting the most interest. We're going to avoid that. We are not going to have the postseason interrupted by an international window. That alone makes it worth it to me. So, guys, I'm looking at this. I see absolutely no disadvantage. This is something that needed to happen. It's interesting, you know, Major League Soccer started off very different from European soccer, and more it goes along, the more it just ends up conforming to what the rest of the world is doing. This particular change has taken the longest. We're going to be in our 32nd season by the time this gets instituted. But we used to play with the clock counting down and the referee stopping the clock, kind of treating it like NFL. We used to not end in ties. We used to have these crazy shootouts where a player gets the ball at midfield and goes one-on-one against the goalkeeper, and you can dribble it. It's not just a penalty kick. You know, it's like a one-on-one from midfield. They used to do all these things, and they've just gotten rid of all the things that made us different than the rest of the world. We've just kind of gotten rid of them. We've kind of just now gotten in line with the rest of the world. This was an important one. This needed to happen. And when I realize how much overlap there is in terms of the months playing out of the year with what we're already doing, and we're getting the winter break. So you know what I mean? Like we're getting a couple of months in the coldest part of the year, and then we're getting a couple of months between the two seasons. So you're spacing that out a little bit, and no one's having to play in extreme conditions, and no one's having to have an extremely long postseason. And we're avoiding all those international window interruptions. Folks, this is massive. This is great. This is also going to make the league a lot more appealing to bigger players, and it's also going to allow clubs to be more inclined to do business with us. A lot of us are turned off by the fact that we're trying to make big offseason moves during the middle of their season. All right, well, that's going to go away. That's not going to happen anymore. So I think this is fantastic. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you see a disadvantage that I'm not seeing? Because honestly, I don't see a single disadvantage. I don't. You might be asking, well, what are we going to do in 2026 if the season ends in October for some people, and then the postseason goes until the first week of December, and that's December of 26. You're telling me that the 27 season doesn't start till July? We're going to have a 6-7 month long off season? What? I mean, how are we going to handle this type of change? How's this transition? Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to have a short season in the spring of 2027. They're going to do a 14 game, what they're calling a sprint season. They're just going to have a really short game. I don't know what that does to the record books and all that kind of stuff, but it accomplishes a couple of things. Number one, it keeps players active, keeps them playing, keeps them in game shape. It's also going to determine qualification for various tournaments. So they're checking those boxes. And you don't want anybody laid off for 6 or 7 months. Like that's just not realistic. So we're going to have a little short season in the spring of 27, take a little break, and then we're coming back in July, and we're getting started with a whole new era. This changes the game for Major League Soccer. I cannot overstate how big this is, and I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to get started. If you disagree, cool. You have a different take. You got reasons why this is a bad idea. Okay, let me know. I want to hear from you. I honestly do, because I don't see it. Right now, I don't see it. So I'm very excited. A couple of other things are happening. Those aren't the only changes. We are going to get rid of the Eastern and Western conferences, and we're going to go to a single table for the league. And right now we're sitting at 30 clubs. But what is going to happen is we're going to be divided up into divisions of 6 teams each. That's 5 divisions with 6 teams each. And we're going to play the other 5 clubs in our own division twice. So that's 10. And then we're going to play the other 24 teams in the league from all the people in all the other divisions, everybody that's not in our own division. We're going to play them once. And so that comes out to 34 matches. So the number of matches in the regular season is going to stay the same. And we're going to have these regional divisions where you are playing them twice in a year. And so, but it's going to be a single table. So when you're looking at playoffs, like right now, there's a year like in the East and West. The East is a lot stronger. The West is weaker. And you're like, well, the top 4 in the West are going to go no matter what. Well, not in a single table, not necessarily. You're going to have, instead of the top 4 from each conference, you're going to have the top 8, right? So in other words, you're not going to be punished for being in the tougher conference. It's going to be a single table, and you'll qualify for the playoffs based on the results of that single table. So I think that's a good thing. And the other thing that's happening is that Apple TV and Major League Soccer are changing their arrangement. Right now, MLS Season Pass is the name of the package that you can buy. You can either subscribe directly to that, and you get to it through the Apple TV streaming app. That's what I do. I am not a subscriber to Apple TV. I pay the MLS price for just MLS, but I get to it through their streaming, through the Apple streaming app. For people who are already paying for Apple TV as a subscriber, right now they're having to pay a premium, like an extra little charge, in order to get the MLS Season Pass. That little charge is not as much as what I'm paying, but in total they're paying more because they're getting Apple TV. Okay, they're going to get rid of that extra paywall. They're going to say, no, there is no separate packaging for just the Season Pass. You can subscribe to Apple TV, and anybody who subscribes to Apple TV is going to get Major League Soccer as a part of that. So I'm probably going to be paying a little bit more because of the package I was on. But for those that were Apple subscribers already and paying for the surcharge for MLS, they're going to end up saving a little bit of money, presumably. I mean, they haven't announced any price changes yet, so we'll see. So that is it's interesting. I don't know what it means. I don't know the implications of that. I don't know if it means that they have not been happy with the numbers they're getting on MLS and they feel like they got to change something up. Is this a strategic adjustment based on poor performance? I mean, I don't know. What I do know is that Apple TV has also they've also landed a Formula One package, and Formula One is going to be handled the same way that MLS will be handled after these changes are put into place. And so this is a case where maybe they treated Major League Soccer as like their pilot program to kind of figure out how they wanted to do sports. And now they've made decisions on how they really want to do it. and now they're going to be signing on more sports. So they're keeping MLS. They're adding Formula One. They may be getting more in the future. I don't know. Anyway, so changes coming to how we can find these games. Changes coming to how the regular season is organized in terms of going to a single table with 5 16 divisions. And we're going to be moving to they call it a fall to spring calendar. It's a July to April calendar with the month of May as the postseason. That's going to be happening in 2027, 1 year after the World Cup. Folks, I'm so excited about this. I hope you are too. Give me your feedback. Tell me your ideas and your thoughts on these changes in the comments below. And remember, we are playing the U.S. has a pair of games coming up. We're in the middle of that international break that's interrupting the playoffs. The U.S. is going to be playing Paraguay on Saturday night. We're going to be playing Uruguay on Tuesday night. I had planned to go live Tuesday night immediately after the Uruguay match. I'm probably not going to be able to do that. Look for me the next night on Wednesday, and hopefully I can get John back on. John and I haven't talked about this, but he came on last window, and we had a good time discussing our thoughts on how those matches went for the U.S. in October. And so we're going to hopefully do that again in November. But you can look for me next week on the other side of the U.S. matches, and then we're going to resume our Major League playoffs. So until then, watch some soccer with me, and I'll talk to you next time.